2. We're doing round 2. We're doing round 2 in one day because I was so happy with how that first one went. And I'll tell you what, this new format, I'm liking it a lot more. We're gonna stop over scripting things. We're just gonna go and we're gonna riff whenever we want because, again, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. So, video 2, Soundgarden, the day I tried to live, a metaphysical analysis of. All right off the bat, I woke the same as any other day. And again, we're going right to the extreme. And we're thinking about this in the sense of our higher selves, in our infinite perfection. Waking up, just chilling, you know, like any other time. But we're bored. We're bored being perfect. We're bored in that singularity. And what do we want to do? We want to live. We want to incarnate. We're tired of being... We're just tired. We want to give it a try. We want to give life a try. And so we do it. We create everything that we need to live. And then we incarnate. And we want to seize the day. But again, what happens when we try to seize the day? What happened the day we tried to live? We stole 1,000 beggars' change, just like everybody else. We fell victim to the ego of our own creation, like everybody else did. It's almost like after we created it, we spent some time looking at it, and we're like, I think I'd like to give that a try. I'd like to go down there. It doesn't seem that hard. You know, they're killing each other. They're killing each other. I think maybe I can go there and I wouldn't have to kill anybody. Let's see what happens. Then we incarnate, and then what happens? And then we're the ones taking the money, and then we're the ones stealing, and then we're the ones hanging Jesus on a cross. We are the villains. And then what's going to happen again? What happens when we, one more time around? Give me another try. I want to keep doing this again and again because I want to try to get this right. And again, this speaks to the cyclical nature of life, of reality kind of being this program that we're running through. And it's like we get refined every time we go through it. And each time we get a little bit closer to being done. We get a little bit better at it. It's almost like we beat the game, so then we restart it with everything that we got the first time. And we keep doing that. And then after a while, it just gets too easy. And it gets boring again. And then what's going to happen? We no longer have to go through that cycle. And then we go back to that infinite singularity, which is arguably home. And we stick around there, and then we're going to get bored again. And then we're going to want to live again. It's... The words you say never seem to live up to the ones inside your head. And thinking about ideas, too. Bringing it back to a more physical paradigm of the things that we create or the ideas that we put out there and them immediately never turning into what we think they are. And life goes completely off the rails, as we have seen, as we are in the middle of, as we have seen our own lives go off the rails, as we have seen when we say something and a little while after we're like, that didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. Those words sounded differently in my head. Those ideas I had sounded different. And after a while, you stop putting out ideas from this egoic place. And a lot of these, a lot of these ideas that are coming from the ego have that ulterior motive because they're coming from a place of want, of control, of trying to control. And we can't control this thing. There's this degree of surrender that is needed to just be present and tune in and let it tune you into it. Which is, I feel, again, ultimately ourselves, trying to tune it back into itself. And then coming back to thinking of our higher selves, having the idea for life to begin with. So check this out. I was watching, I was at a party a little while ago. My friends were pumping up this balloon, and after a while people maybe felt obligated to keep the balloon going, to keep the game going. And I started to see life as that. I was sitting back. One person was like, got a little worried, like about maybe about breaking something, and then somebody else was like, but it's fun. And I thought about, you think about like fundamental energy, and one of them is like, but it's fun, keep this thing going. And one person's like, I think we should stop. This is going to get off the rails. Like, yeah, it's fun, but it's not, we're not doing what we're doing consciously. If we continue to be unconscious about what we're doing, things are going to keep going in this direction. And I saw life as being just, life is like this game that you are playing with yourself. Life is an agreement that you make with yourself to not kill each other and to not kill yourself, or try your best to not do either of those things. And hope that there's something, hope that we're not just, hope there is something happening here. The lives we make never seem to ever get us anywhere but dead. And that's perfect, because again, that is a callback to that theme of taking form to formlessness, to realize you never needed the form that got you there to be happy. And it's almost like this inevitability that it's like, of course, it has to go back to source energy. That's where it came from. It has to go back to that singularity. So these lives that we create for ourselves as a higher being won't get us anywhere. You can stick around and play with your form as much as you want, but ultimately you're going to hit a wall and you're going to have to break through. And the more that you hold on to things, the more that you attach to them, this negativity is just going to keep building and building, and it's going to try to push you and try to move you. And the more that we push back, the more that we're going to hurt and the more that we're going to suffer. One more time around. Just give me one more time around. And again, that's also the idea that once we do complete this cycle of life and death, and what something decides to take that ceiling away for us to just completely evaporate back into the everything and nothingness that we came from, once we get back there, it's going to be like in the beginning of the song where we had a voice in our head like, let's do that again. Yeah, let's do it again. Why not? It doesn't hurt. Sometimes it hurts. It hurts when you're in the moment, because you being a human, having a limited consciousness, you're not really sure why these things are happening to you. It's hard to make sense of tragedy and make sense of hurt and meaning. And then when you try to make sense of it, you are not being. You're trying to fight it. It's almost like you think you can beat it by making sense of it, instead of just loving it, and not necessarily loving it in a sadistic or masochistic way. It's just this understanding. It's this letting it exist, letting everything be able to have its space. And once it has its space, it kind of realizes it didn't really need it, and then whatever that thing is dissipates. Just like you know, I come back to that idea of, oh, it's not as easy as I thought it was. I went in it, I thought I would give it a try, and this realization that it's like we are basically, we are all the same. But there's so many caveats to that, because you can always naysay, because there's always different directions to look at a perspective from. And of course, we need to live every life before we realize that, because no one life is going to get us there. Coming back to the theme in the method acting video of just going through that form to get the formlessness. It's like we have to live out every life, because our collective unconscious almost can see what all of the individual consciousnesses are seeing. So we need to kind of act as these proxies, and we need to act as this medium to get information back to that thing that's making all the decisions, whatever that looks like. However the hierarchy of life is built on top of itself, however it's sectioned off, there's a structure to what's happening here. I cannot believe in chaos. I used to only believe in chaos. Then I got to the point where I'm like, maybe chaos is arbitrary. Maybe arbitrary is probably arbitrary. And then towards the end, learned that I was a liar. It was, I'm jumping around at this point, but you kind of get what I'm going for here. And again, that realization that it's like, of being a hypocrite, of kind of realizing that existing is hypocrisy. You almost have to be a hypocrite anytime you're doing anything, because we are infinite. Of course we're going to contradict ourselves. Of course we're going to be hypocrites. What else would infinity do stuck in a form except contradict itself? Reality is this infinite contradiction. I also feel like that contradiction is what's like fundamental for it to hold on to itself. And again, that it being a polarity, needing that negative and positive, needing the ego and God to be able to create a space for us to be in. Good enough, good enough. That was shorter. It's 10 minutes, less lyrics, maybe less to say, I don't know. That was good though, I had fun with it. So yeah, thank you for sticking around again. Don't want to feel like I'm rushing through these too much, because I don't want to go from one extreme to the other where I spent like, where I had an hour's worth of footage to like not having enough or saying like too much because I'm obviously something. I don't know what I am. I don't know what anything is anymore. Shit. Yeah, I don't want to figure it out. That's another thing. Until you can figure it out, but you will when you don't want to. There's this, coming back to that detachment. Life sees that you're detached enough to take the power. It's almost the reason why humans can't be trusted, because we have that ego, because we're inevitably going to use that power, coming back to this theme, to destroy ourselves, to kill each other, to only worship that ego. And so of course we can't be given the power of thought manifestation, because what happens if we're given that? Everything is going to fall apart, because we will use all of it to inevitably care only about ourselves. And then you find cancer, and then you see what cancer is as an idea. And then you see cancer other places, and you're like, oh shit, what are we in the middle of? All right, cool beans, guys. Cutting it off. Have a good night. Love you guys, and be safe.